Welcome guys. In this video, I'm going to continue with recycler view. So if you have not watched the previous videos, I'd recommend that you watch them first and then come back to this. In this chapter, we are going to see something called as JSON, which is, by the way, not in syllabus, but I would like you to know this because it's a very important data standard nowadays, and it is essential that you know that, because most of the time our data, whatever you're going to display in the phone, might not come from your app itself, which will not be generated by the app itself. It might be coming from a different source, like maybe you host that on the internet and then you get the data into your app. So one of those formats in which you get data, which is very easy to use and understand, is JSON. So let's just go a quick review about JSON, what is JSON, how to use it, and what is the syntax, and then we'll go to our program. So just to explain what is JSON, it is called JavaScript Object Notation, and it is a lightweight data interchange format, which means, in other words, we can just say exchange format. And it is self-describing, it is very easy to understand, and it uses JavaScript's syntax, but it is not actually JavaScript. It doesn't mean like you should run it only on a browser. Any text editor can open this somewhat like an XML file. And it can be read and used as a data format by different programming languages. There is no specific programming language which can pick up JSON. So Java can pick up JSON, Python can, and any language which you like can understand JSON, because it is a simple data interchange notation. That's it. So why should I use JSON? I'm just going to give you the overview and then going to give a summary of it. So you see, when exchanging data between a browser and a server, normally, when I say browser, I'm going to replace that browser with any client which you would require. So most commonly it is a browser, but a client and a server. So when it comes to client and server, the most of the time the data between them would be text. There is no much data, because normally we use HTTP. So it's a text transfer protocol. So we'll be normally using text, and JSON is basically text. So we can convert any JavaScript object to a JSON format and send it to server. And the same way, the reverse also, I can get that server back and then put it into JavaScript objects in our program. Now this way we can work with data as JavaScript objects with no complicated parsing, no translations. So to summarize what I've said so far, JSON is text, so it can easily be sent to and from the server and used as a data format by any programming language. In this case, I'm going to use Java. Let's just see an overview of the syntax of JSON. I want you to understand the syntax so that you can see and understand, but we'll not be writing JSON code as such. We'll be generating it through some data source, whatever data source you have. So let's start. To understand the syntax, number one, all data is stored in a name value pair. Please understand that it is a name value pair. It is not name equal to value, it is name colon value. So if it is a string, it is in double quotes. If it's a number, double quotes are not required, and so on. So data is normally kept like this: name value pair. First thing. Second thing, data, if you want more than one data, you separate them using a comma. So name John, comma, age something, comma, city something. It goes on like this. You can separate each data name value pair with a comma. And third one, curly braces. If you see a curly braces, normally it represents to hold objects. So I've just written a syntax to understand this. For example, var, in JavaScript there is no specific data type, so var can hold anything. So here it is going to hold an object. Person is equal to curly braces. Within that, I put the same data what you have given, separated by a comma. So this person becomes an object now. So if you want to access something inside that object, just need to call the object dot name value pair, which means person dot name. I just called that. Now it will return me John. That's the idea. So curly braces holds objects. The next thing which I want you to understand is square brackets. Now by now you know square brackets normally intend or mean arrays. So I've just put an example to understand this. Cars colon square brackets, some values are put. So those values are separated by a comma, and all those are considered as one array, which is cars. And in this program, I am going to use an array of objects. So you need to understand how an array is represented and how an object is represented. That much is enough to understand what is JSON. Now what I am going to do is, I've already written a small PHP code which is written on the server, and I have hosted it already. So I'm going to show you the code which I've written. And please note the location where I've written the URL of the file. So you have a faculty.php in which I put so much of code, and this code fetches data from the internet, which means we have a sac-AIMIT.in website. In that one there is a MySQL database hosted, and all I have done in this code is a simple PHP code which just uses database connection and queries this, select star from table name, and gets that data and stores it in result object. And I'm going through a small while loop is there. In this while loop, all we are doing here is getting an associative array. You know what's an associative array? It's a name value pair again. So I'm getting an associative array from result and storing it in faculty data as an array. All I wanted to notice here is every time the loop runs, a new teacher's record is created, and I've taken that row and put it inside an array called teacher. Now at the end of this code, I took all those teachers and then put it inside another array called teachers, singular, plural. Please understand the difference. So I've taken one teacher's record will be stored in teacher array. I took all those teachers and put it inside teachers array so that I get this data. So I have all the teachers, which means I've put all our faculty details there. So I'm going to get that data and store it here. The last line, what you see is encode that into JSON and then print it out. That's all. So if you open this URL now, you will get a JSON file, a JSON text, which I'll be showing you shortly, and we'll see how that data is structured. Then we'll go to our program. So now I'm going to run that URL which I passed in the PPT, sac-AIMIT.in/faculty.php. I'm going to open that. See, the output what I got out of that faculty.php is the JSON code. This is generated by the help of the PHP code which I've written, which queries a MySQL database in the server. So you've got the data from the server. I know it's not readable, so let me make it readable. I'm going to open a website called jasonlint.com, and I'm just going to do a validation of that JSON what is generated. I just copied all the code which I got from faculty.php, and I'm going to paste it inside JSONlint. And I know it's not in a particular order. If you click on validate, it will format it and give it to you. So this is the formatted answer of JSON. So you can see how it is structured. If you see the first bracket, the curly braces normally indicates an object. This entire thing is inside one big curly braces. Now, next thing what I want you to focus on is teachers. Square bracket opens here and it ends at the bottom of the page, which means all teacher singular record what you have got is part of the teachers array which you have created here in JSON. And each and every record inside that, can you see this, from here to here is one teacher's record. So what are the data which is available inside a teacher record? FID, the ID which is stored auto-incremented value in the MySQL database, the name what I've stored, designation, and the picture. So I'm going to take all these data and display it in an app which we have in a recycler view. Because I don't want, if I have 1,000 faculties, I don't want all faculties to be loaded immediately, because there are images, which means it will take some more time to load. So I'm going to just display 4 or 5 images or 4 or 5 faculties first. Then when you scroll, I want the other faculties also to be displayed. This is the JSON which is generated. So now let's see how to format it in Android. I have created a new project called Recycler JSON demo, and in this one I'm going to do only the design, and the coding part we'll do in the next video. So let's go to the design part now. First I'm going to remove this text view which is already there, and I'm just going to put a recycler view inside this constraint layout. It would require a library, so let me just click OK. After the Gradle sync, you would get the recycler view ready. So if you click on the recycler view, please note that there's no ID given here. So let me give an ID. So I'm going to give recycler view. Because there's only one, I'm not going to give it a specific name. Just let's keep it as recycler view. So this is done. Now the next thing what I want you to do is to create a single item layout. So how would a single item in my list view or recycler view look like? So let's create that now. Let's go to the project. Let's go to the layout folder, right click and add a new layout resource file. Let me give this name as list underscore item. So I'm going to just click on OK. I have a constraint layout, a list item single. I'm just going to design one single item in this particular layout. So let me just do that. I'm going to change the constraint layout just to bring in a new layout or new idea about this. I'm going to add something called the card view layout. Okay, so please note that I want every faculty's detail to come as a small card. you would have come across card view in a lot of websites. Like say for example hikes news, if you see, that's a card view, which because every news is coming as a card there. So I'm going to use something like that, which, even though I don't have much data, but I'm going to display that small data in a small piece of card. So let's do that. For that, I'm going to go to the containers and see there is one thing called card view. So I'm going to use a card view in this particular program. So let me just replace the constraint layout with the card view. So first, let me just drag and drop a card view inside. It would ask you to add the library. So let me just click on OK. Let it add that library. Now that the library is added, I'm going to right click on the constraint layout and then say convert view. Now if you search for card view, you would find that it comes card view widget. So I'm going to just add card view and click on apply, so that the entire thing converts into a card view. I can delete this right now. I just need one card view. So I have converted everything into a card view. Now all I'm going to do here is inside this, I'm going to show, please note I am getting 4 data from the server: ID, name, designation, and the picture URL. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to display image, and on the right side of the image I want the name of the faculty, below that the designation of the faculty. That's it. So I'm going to put another layout inside so that I can structure it. Card view is just to get the design proper. So I'm going to just choose horizontal linear layout, and inside that I'm going to put an image view. And I'm just going to show that the avatars which is available here, I'm going to just choose as a sample data, because anyway I'll be replacing it with faculty pictures. So I'm going to just click on OK, and once it is ready, please go and change the width and height to like a thumbnail. You can keep 50-50 or 100-100. I'm going to just keep 100 so that it comes a little bit bigger. So I'm going to say width is 100 dp, height is 100 dp, and it is done. So now inside this horizontal layout, please do make sure that the image view or whatever you have here should be wrapped with the content. So I'm going to say wrap content and wrap content. So you get a small picture here. So this is the picture size. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is inside this linear layout, I'm going to put another linear layout because I want 2 text views to come right side of it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and drag and drop another linear layout, but a vertical one, inside this horizontal linear layout. So please note, it is not outside. Linear layout has image view and one more linear layout which is vertical. Now inside this vertical linear layout, I'm going to put 2 text views, 1 and 2. So I'm going to click on the card view and I'm going to say height is wrap content. So you can see that the card view only this much. So you can see the highlighted part is the actual card. This is what we are going to design, and let me just make it a little bit more better by giving let's see how the card view makes a difference. Let us format the card view first and then we'll go to the child controls inside them. So let's click on the card view first. I'm going to give a name. I'm going to name it as my layout. So this is the layout which we have here, and we'll be calling it in the adapter which we create. So now let's go to the next one. I am going to go to the background color of the card. Please note these are card based attributes. Let's change a few so that you know what is the card here. So I'm going to give a different color. Let's give a very light color. Let's not choose a dark color. Let's give a light color so that you know that is the card. So this is the card. And the second thing I'm going to give here is just to show you the difference of a radius is that the corner radius of your card. If you want it like a rectangle with sharp edges, it's fine. But if you want a curved edge, you can give it here. I'm going to give 10 dp so that it's a little bit bent around the edges. If you see that the edges part is a little bit curved, its edges are rounded. So you can see that here. And let's go to the next part. Click on the card view and let's give a padding also so that the controls are not too close to each other. So I'm going to give a padding of 10 dp so that it doesn't touch the corners of your card view. So that is done. And the card elevation a little bit more. We can just give say 7 dp or something. That's enough. And with that, the card properties are done. The last thing what we are going to do with the card view is the margin between the controls inside this. So if I have many card views, each card view should be a little bit away from each other. Otherwise it will all come together and it will look awkward. So let me just go search for a property called margin, and let me just give a small margin between them. It will not be visible immediately here. But if you see one more card view, if it comes below it, there'll be a small gap between these two cards. That's the idea. So the card views properties are done. Now let's go to the layout, and the layout already has wrapped its controls here and it is ready. So I'm going to click on the image view. Now let's name it first. I'm going to name it as IMG profile pic. That's it. The next thing we are going to see is the second text view which you have, and I'm going to change that name to TV name. The text view which holds the name. Here the faculty name will come. And let's change some of the other properties also here. First one is the appearance. Let me make it large so that it is visible clearly. And also let me change the font family. Let me just keep it as all caps. And let's give it, the color is already black, so let me not change it. Let it be as it is. That's it. Now the next one is the second text view which you have, which will be showing the designation. So I'm going to just say TV designation, the text view which holds the designation. And right now I'm going to keep a dummy text designation so that you see how it looks like. So now I'm going to change the property which you have to medium and make it bold. With that we can stop the design. So let me click on the linear layout also and go to its margins, and let's give a small margin, let's say 10 dp, so that the profile picture and the name does not come so close. So now we have finished the design of the card view. So every card, every faculty detail which you get from the internet should be taken and formatted and displayed in this particular card for how many other faculties you have from the JSON data which you get. So I'm going to continue with the code part of this program, in which first what I'm going to do is we are going to create a POJO like how we did in the previous programs. And then I'm going to create an adapter for my program, and once the adapter is ready I'm going to come back to the main activity and then parse the data and pass it to the adapter. So let's get to the code. So first I'm going to create a POJO. Right now I'm in the main activity. Let's go to the same place where main activity is located. Right click on the package or the folder name, and let's create a new Java class. And this class I'm going to just name it as faculty, because this is going to be a POJO which is going to have faculty details in it. So as we had done in the last video, we'll be creating data members of the faculty class. So for that I'm going to create private. First is a integer which is int. I'm going to just name it as faculty ID. And the second one is private string faculty name. Third one is also a string, private string. I'm going to name it as designation. And the next one is private. Please note the next one is a profile picture, but even though it is a picture for us, for the system it is just a string, because I'm going to just have the URL of the picture which is there on the internet, which I'm going to parse and put it. So here I'm going to just keep it as string. So private string, just put as profile pic. So I have four records, so the data members of this faculty class. So I'm going to start creating constructors and then getters and setters. Let's start with the first constructor, which is an empty constructor. So right click, click on generate, choose constructor. Without choosing the data members, just choose the faculty and say OK. So you have an empty constructor ready. Second thing is the constructor which takes all these parameters. So I'm going to click on generate constructor, but all the four has to be passed, and then click on OK. So you've got both the constructors. Then the last part of this POJO is to generate getters and setters. Let's do that. So I'm going to right click, generate getter and setter. Let's choose all the four and click on OK. You should get getters and setters for all the four data members of your class. So all I have done in this program is just create a class called faculty, in which I put four data members and their corresponding getters and setters and appropriate constructors. So that's all with the POJO. The next thing what we are going to do is to create an adapter for our program to map the actual data to the recycler view. For that I'm going to right click on the same place where we just did the POJO and say new Java class, and let me name it as faculty adapter. Like I've already mentioned in the last video, we'll be creating a view holder, inner class view holder, and then we'll be extending that to the adapter. So first let's create a public static class called as view holder. So in this case, I'm going to just name it as faculty view holder, which extends from recycler view dot view holder. This is what we had done in the last class. Now, if you remember, this requires an appropriate constructor to be called, matching the super. So let's click on this and let's see what is the way to fix this, to create a constructor matching the super. So let's create a constructor and that issue should be solved. So I'm going to start with the image view, text view, and two text views actually. So we'll just put image view. Let's name it as profile image. Next two are text views. So I'm just going to put text view. Let's say name txt and designation or desig txt. So I've got three controls there in the model. So let's map all the three controls here. So how do I do that? First, profile image is equal to, I can't write find view by ID, just like how we saw in the last class. I'm going to call item view that is passed to this view holder. I'm going to say with that find view by ID. And in that I'm going to choose r.id. If you remember, we had given img profile pic. We'll choose that. The next two text views are similar, r.id.tv name. So that is done. The next one is designation txt is equal to item view dot find view by ID and r.id.tv designation. So we have got all the mappings, which means I have now the view holder now recognizes all the controls which are there in that one list model what we have created. So this work here is done. Now let's go to the adapter itself. Now we are going to the faculty adapter class, and we'll say that faculty adapter extends from an adapter which holds this view holder. So I'm just going to say extends recycler view dot adapter. Please note, adapter asks you to pass the view holder. Let's pass the view holder here, which is nothing but faculty view holder. When you finish that, you will have an error saying that that you have not implemented the corresponding methods. If you remember, there are three important methods which needs to be implemented. So I'm just going to bring up that. You have three important methods starting with onCreate, onBind, getItemCount. Let me just click on OK to fix this error. So all the three methods which are important for this adapter has been generated. Now the next step, as I've done in the last video, I am going to say, what will you pass to me? What data will you give to this adapter in order for you to put it in the recycler view? So please remember, I have already created a POJO called faculty. Now I want not one faculty's data, but a list of faculty. I have maybe 10 or 15 faculties are there. So I want a list of faculty. So let's create the same way what I just told, list of faculty. Let me name it as faculty list. And let me not instantiate it because you need to pass this to me. So let us pass it through a constructor. So right click here and say generate constructor, choose that faculty list which we just created and say OK. So as soon as you call this faculty adapter, you need to also pass the list of faculty which you need to map or which you need to adapt to your recycler view. So this is done. The next part would be to, as soon as we finish this, I have told you it's better always to give the item count immediately after you have done the instantiation of the faculty list. So here I'm going to just call faculty list dot size, which will return how much data is passed to you. So the adapter will be aware of how many records are there and how many to process and how many to not show. So this is done. Now the next thing is on create view holder. So here all I'm going to do is we are going to inflate a view holder, and also we are going to pass or return the faculty view holder with the model which we created. For that, let me start with the first line, layout inflator. Let's name it as inflator is equal to layout inflator dot from what? Context. What is the context given? View group will give you the context. So I'm going to call parent dot get context. So you've got the context of the layout inflator. Now what should I do? I should create a view which will be inflated by this layout inflator. So let's create a view. Let's name it as layout model is equal to inflator dot inflate. What should I inflate? I need to pass three parameters. Number one is what resource do you want me to inflate? I am going to say r dot layout dot what I created for one particular item, that is list item. I'm going to choose that. Second one is what is the view group? If you see, the view group is already passed to me. I'm going to choose parent. The last one, should I attach it to the root? No, false. That's it. So your view is ready. Now all you need to do is create an object of the view holder which we have created here by passing a view object to it. So let me create that. I'm going to create faculty view holder let me name it as faculty view holder is equal to new faculty view holder, and within brackets I'm supposed to pass a view object which I already have as the layout model. Done. The last line is to return the one which you just created, faculty view holder. So the on create part is done. That's the second step. The third step is to bind each data which you got from all these things, from the data what you have got, what you have passed to the adapter, and then bind it to these controls which are there in the view holder. Let's do that. The first step inside bind view holder would be to make sure that this entire code is written inside a try catch block, because I am going to use a URL and map it to the image view which you have put there. So there will be network operations, there will be threads available. So obviously I need to put a try catch. So try catch is ready. As soon as you're binding, please note binding happens one item at a time. So let's find out which item are you going to talk about. So I'm going to create an object of faculty. Let me name it as small letter faculty is equal to faculty list dot get. Where is the index? What faculty do you want me to pull? The position which you're trying to access. That's it. The position, as we have seen in the last video, it comes automatically when you scroll. It determines the positions and gets the data appropriately. So now you've got the faculty one, that which position you're talking about, that particular faculty's details is now available. All I need to do right now is to map them. So I'll do the image last, but the remaining two are very simple. Let's do that first. So first thing I am going to do here is going to call the holder, the faculty view holder, which has the record. So I'm going to call holder dot. You see there are two text views and one profile image view is available. So let's start with the name dot set text. Where will I get the name from? You already have the faculty object, so just call the faculty object and then say get faculty name. As simple as that. Second one, holder dot designation txt dot set text. Where will I get that from? Same object dot get designation. The last thing which I need to give is the image. If you remember in the last class, what we had done was I took an image from the internet and then put it on my image view. But remember, when I did that, since it's an HTTP connection, you need to use thread. You should use one of those background processes what we have done in the previous videos. But then here I'm not going to use that, but rather what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the system to relax its policy. If you remember a keyword which I mentioned in the background processes PPT called strict mode, I am going to just create an object of the policy which is by default available. I am going to change that policy so that you can get the data from the internet. So let's do that now. I am going to create an object of the strict mode which is available inside our Android infrastructure. So I'm going to call something called strict mode dot thread policy. By default there is a policy available. I'm going to change that policy. So let's create an object called policy is equal to new strict mode dot thread policy. Let's remove that bracket. Make sure that thread policy dot builder is called. By the way, this can be written in 2-3 lines. I'm just trying to write it in one line. Builder dot permit all dot build. Just write this code just to bypass that thread policy what the system follows, that it doesn't allow HTTP to be processed in the main thread. So that's done. The next thing I'm going to do here is we are going to set this policy on our strict mode. I'm going to call strict mode and say dot set thread policy to the policy which we just created, not the inbuilt one. That's it. Now what we are going to do here is I am going to take the text. Please note what text comes from the user is going to be a URL of an image. So I need to convert that URL into a bitmap so that I can put it in that image view, which we have already done. I'm going to write it in shorter lines. So let's create a URL and let me name it as image URL is equal to new URL. And within brackets, I need to give the text which comes from the user. So I'm going to say faculty dot get profile pic. This should return a URL to me. Please remember this part. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask this image URL to open input stream, open a HTTP connection. With that, I'm going to get the input stream. If I get this, I can convert it back into a bitmap. So let's do that. I'm going to create an object of bitmap and let me name it as BMP is equal to bitmap factory dot decode stream. please note the only input I need to give, or the argument I need to pass here, is input stream. Where will I get this? If you remember in the last video, we have done this. I'll call the image URL and then say dot open connection. If I give open connection, the return type is URL connection, which I converted at a HTTP connection and then got the input stream. I'm writing all those in one line in this program because you already have come across that one. I'm going to call open connection. From that, get input stream. If I pass this input stream to my BMP bitmap factory by decoding that stream what you just gave, and I'll get a bitmap. The last line is very simple now. I just need to call the holder dot profile picture, that object dot set image bitmap to whatever bitmap object you have got. Done. So our work in the adapter is over. All I have done here is that I've made sure that the faculty position, whichever position you're targeting, that particular position, I'm getting all details of that faculty and then assigning it to the labels, labels and images what you have put in the item model for each and every item. So this will happen for every item in your JSON data what you pass to me, and I'll get the adapter to work. The last part of this program is to combine all these things into the main activity. Let's do that now. In the main activity, what are we supposed to do? Number one, I need to go to the internet, get the data from sac-aimit.in/faculty.php, get the JSON data, parse it, and then convert it into a faculty list or a list of faculties in Java, and then call the adapter. This is a big process. But if you remember, the first part what I've said is I need to go to the internet. For that, you need to first take the permission of internet. And then the second thing is that using HTTP, you need to go to the internet and then get the data, which means you cannot do it on the main thread. So where should I do it? You should do it in a separate thread using async task. So let's do that as a subclass first, then we'll come back to the main code. For that, I'm creating a separate class for the async task alone. So let's create a public class. Let me name it as get data from site or get data from the internet, something like that. You can name it appropriately so that you understand it. So I'm just going to say get data from net or net from website. This is the class name. It extends an async task. And if you remember, there are three parameters I need to pass for that async task. Number one, what type of data should I give to do in background? Second will be, are you showing updates in numbers or in string? And the third one is what type of data will come back to me. So these are the data which is required. So what I'm going to do right now is, number one, I'm going to give all the three as string. The reason is I'm going to pass a URL so that you can do it in the background. And the second thing is I'm not going to show a progress update in this program, but if you want, you can show it as a string. Third one is that what data will come back from me. The entire JSON, as I told in the beginning of this PPT, is that it is text. So I'll get back also text. So let's do that now. So I'm going to just pass string, comma, string, comma, string. All three are string. So once I finish that, I'll get an error because you have not implemented the important methods. So in this, I just need two methods. I'm going to use only two methods, but I've used all the methods in the previous video. So please check that. Here I'm going to use only two. Number one, do in background. After that, what I'm supposed to do. There's no processing here. So let me just, if you want, you can put processing. I'm just focused on only two important things here. So first thing is, let me first implement that do in background. That is done. Please note how that is structured now. We have got this. The next thing I want is on post execute. After you have executed, what should I do? See, if you see the data which is passed to you is string, and returning is nothing right now because I'm going to change that. And the next one is whatever you got from here will be returned here. So I'll be getting the data from the internet and passing that string here, and that string I'll be returning it here. And once I got this here, I'll be processing that data what you got from the internet. The first thing we'll be doing in this method called do in background is to put everything inside a try catch, because to be on the safer side, if there's any issues, the system should not crash, rather it should throw me an exception. So let me just start with try catch and let's print the stack trace. That's it. So now inside the try block, the first thing what we are going to do is to get whatever data is passed to you and convert it into a URL, because when you call this get data from net, I'll be passing a URL to it. So let me just create a URL object. Let me create it as data URL, is equal to new URL. Within brackets, I'm going to pass the first thing which is passed using that argument. So if you see that it passes an argument of strings, which means an array of strings. In that one, since I'm going to pass only one, I know the location will be 0. So I got that and the URL is ready. Now all I need to do is create a HTTP URL connection. So let's create a HTTP URL connection. Let's name it as connection is equal to. We are going to use that URL and then open the connection. So I'm going to call the data URL and then say open connection. But it will not match because it is a URL connection and it is a HTTP URL connection. Let's just typecast it. Done. Now the URL part is done. The next part is that I would like an input stream, because please note when I ran the program in the beginning of the slide, if you see it's a bunch of text first. First, let me get the text, then we can process it. So I want to read whatever is returned by that faculty.php. So I'm going to create an input stream and let me name it as input stream, small letters, is equal to connection.getInputStream. So you've got the stream. Now it's not difficult to read it. You have another class called input stream reader. So I'm going to call input stream reader. Let me name it as reader. New input stream reader, and within brackets I'm supposed to pass the stream, so I'll be just passing the input stream. Now when there is so much of data, you cannot just read it using an input stream reader, because I would like you to read it line by line. In other words, in an organized fashion. So let's use a buffered reader. So I'm going to just name it as buffered reader is equal to new buffered reader. Within brackets I'm going to pass the input stream reader. So the buffered reader is now ready for you to read the data in an organized fashion. So once this is ready, I'm going to create a dummy, a temp text. So I'm going to create string, which is a temporary text value, which I'll instantiate to blank in the beginning. This will be used temporarily, and because every line you read, I want you to put it in the string, then concatenate to a bigger string. For that, I'm going to use a string builder. So I'm going to create an object of string builder. Let me name it as string builder is equal to new string builder. That's it. Now with this, let's go through the buffered reader, whatever data is available. I'll take line by line and put it in the temp, and every temp value which I got, I'll be putting it inside string builder. So please follow this while loop, which we have already done before. While, let me put one more bracket inside that, and then say temp is equal to buffered reader dot read line. This entire thing, if it is not equal to null, then go around. So please note, this is the while loop what we have written. If temp is equal to, please note this is an assignment which should return null if there is nothing to be assigned. Otherwise it will keep reading, which means till the end of the line of whatever data you have got, keep looping. And whenever you loop, what should I do? I need to get that temp and add it to string builder. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call string builder and appending these data what you just got in every line. So each and every line which you read from the buffered reader, append it to string builder. Our work is done, because almost all data, all the JSON data we have read. What you're going to do right now is in the return part, you're going to just write string builder dot toString. We make it into one entire string and then return it. That's it. Now if at all there was a problem, it will come to catch block and it will return null. But if it executes till this line will be the last line it executes, because after that it will be ignored with the remaining lines. Now let's go to the next part of the program, which is after I've got the data from the internet, what am I supposed to do? On post execute, you would get all the JSON data in this S. So I need to take that S and process it accordingly. Again, I'm going to write the entire code inside a try block. So try, catch, exception, stack trace. Now, inside this, the first step I'm going to do is get all the data. If you remember the data which I showed to you when what comes from the internet is teachers. That's a big array, an array of objects. So I'm going to pull that array. So JSON array, please note there's an inbuilt class called JSON array. Let's create an object of JSON array is equal to new. Please note I'll be using the word JSON object of that string what you passed, and then get one particular name. Please remember everything in JSON object is a name value pair. So the name what I've given for this is this array is teachers. So I'm going to create an object, JSON object if I'm looking for, and within brackets I need to pass what is a string. I need to pass s because s is passed to me here as string. And then I'm going to say dot get JSON array because I cannot store a new JSON object there in JSON array. So I'm going to convert whatever in that string, whether you find a name called teachers, please note plural, teachers. Please don't make spelling mistake here. This is not changeable by you because I've already put the JSON file. If you create your own JSON, please put that name here. So teachers, we have got that entire JSON array into that object right now. Now, before we proceed with the remaining part of the program, we need to make sure that at post execute, we need to call the adapter. In order to call the adapter, you need a list of faculty. So let me create that globally and then assign them here locally. So I'm going to the top of the class. I'm going to create a list of faculty and let me name it as faculty list. And in onCreate, I will be initializing that faculty list. So let's say faculty list is equal to new. I'll create this as a new array list. Now let's go back to on post execute and let's create an object of a single faculty and let's assign that value because in that teachers array what you have got, there are 10 teachers. Imagine I need to take each teacher and then add it to the faculty list. So how do I do that? Let me just create an object of faculty and I'll not give the value inside this because I do not know how many teachers are there inside that array. So I'm going to create a for loop for I is equal to 0, I is less than JSON array dot length. How much ever data you get inside this teachers because this is just a name which holds an array and that array size will be returned because that's the length. Now inside this what we are going to do, I'm going to create an object. Please remember I've given as var person in the PPT. The same thing I'm going to do here. For that I'm going to create an object of JSON object. Let me name it as a single faculty. This is one person. So let's say a teacher, single person. So how do I get that data? It's very simple because you already have the array with you. You just need to give this as a parameter, the teacher, the word as teacher. So the first thing you need to understand here in order to write this code is it is structured as teachers. Inside that you have teacher 1, 2, 3, 4 like that it is there. So in order to pull one particular person's detail, the first thing you need in an array is the index of it. So that is easy. So I can just say JSON array dot get JSON object. If you have the index, I have the index because I'm going to go through a loop. So I have the index. Now I've got the index, which means you have now captured one teacher's data. In that one, which data do you want? So I'm going to say dot get JSON object. In that one, again, I've given a name called teacher singular. So I'm going to give that name teacher. While writing this program, please keep the JSON on your right hand side so that you can see how it works. I have teachers. I've got all the records from that. In that one, every teacher which is there, I'll be pulling their records now. Now, what we need to do next is create a new object of faculty. So I'll be saying faculty is equal to new faculty. And if you see the parameters which I need to pass is ID, name, designation, and profile pic. Where will I get this from? I can just call that teacher object of JSON object what we have created and then say get int. Please remember what is the ID which you have given for faculty. Please go refer your JSON before you write this. This is not with respect to Java or the JSON code what we have written. This is the same code what I have given in my PHP MySQL part. So I have given it as FID. So I'll be using that. Second one, by the way, you will also have to do the same thing because if you are using my data, this is what you have to type. Next one, teacher dot get. Let me just say string because next one is a text. So I'm going to say teacher dot get string and within double quotes I'll write the name of the string. So I'll say fac name. If you don't like writing it in one line, we can also divide it into multiple lines. Just because I didn't want it to be looking too big, I've written like this. But let me write it in the different way. By the way, you can continue writing like this. Also, you can write it in the way in which I'm going to write now. I'm going to say faculty dot set faculty ID. You can call teacher dot get int. From that, I can just pass FID. That's one simpler way. Like this, you have to do for all the four. Otherwise, you can just pass all the four directly to the faculty object which you created there. So I'm going to do it simply in separate lines. So second one is set faculty name. So for that, I'm going to call the teacher object and say get string. The name is fac name. That's what I've given in the JSON. You can check the JSON file for this. Faculty dot set designation teacher dot get string double quotes designation. The last one is a little bit tricky because if you see the JSON file which we have got, it will just say images slash some name dot jpg. That's not a URL. The URL is http://something dot jpg. But then what I've got from JSON, if you look at the output, is just images slash file name dot jpg. That's it. But I need to put the prefix for that. So I'm going to say dot set profile pic, and within double quotes, please type this as it is, https://sac-amit.in/cas/ from this I'm going to concatenate whatever you get from the object. So teacher dot get string, within double quotes I'm going to say profile pic. So assume what will come here as an output. The output will be https://sac-amit.in/cas/images/filename.jpg. This is what we are trying to achieve here. With this, our one faculty's record is ready. I need to add that faculty to the faculty list. So what I'm going to do is call the faculty list and say dot add this faculty. Done. When this loop completes, you would have got all the faculty details into this faculty list. The next step for us to do is to call the adapter, call the recycler view, and give the adapter this faculty list and ask the adapter to set on the recycler view. So for that, let's create an object of the recycler view globally. So I'm going to create an object of recycler view. Let me just name it as recycler view. And if you want, you can instantiate it as soon as the program starts. So let's say recycler view is equal to find view by id r.id.recycler view. That is done. Now the next two steps are somewhat which is important for us. Recycler view dot set has fixed size true. First important property. Second is recycler view dot set layout manager to a new linear layout manager which has context as this. Done. These are the important properties of the recycler view. Now let's go into the post execute. And after the for loop, by the way, please note every time the loop runs, a new faculty is created and the data is set for that faculty and then it is added to the faculty list. Now the last line of code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object of the faculty adapter what we have created. Faculty adapter, let's name it as adapter is equal to new adapter. What should I pass to that? You need to pass the faculty list which you already have now, which is filled with data. Got it. Now the last part is to call the recycler view and then say set adapter to this adapter. That's it. Now this doesn't mean that our program is complete. Why? Because all code what I wrote right now in this part is belonging to this class and I've never called this class anywhere. So what I'm going to do here is inside the on create of my program, I'm just going to type after this new object of get data from net dot execute. So while you execute, it demands that you pass something. If you see that, it is a string. So here is where you will be passing that https://sac-amit.in/faculty.php. This is the file. So once you get the URL and say execute, this will get executed by taking that string what you passed as the parameter. The last part of this app is to make sure that there is internet connection available. Please note this entire program revolves around the idea that you have internet and you can access that URL called sac-amit.in/faculty.php. This will not be available in a localhost or in a phone which does not have internet. So what should I do first? I should ask permission. The first step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask permission to see whether you can give me access to internet. The second thing is that in this program, I'm going to do a small block of code which you can reuse again and again in different apps which compulsorily requires internet. So for that purpose, the first step is to make sure that you go to the manifest, ask permissions. Let's do that. In the manifest, the first permission I'm going to ask is internet. Also, in this program, I'm also going to make sure that you check whether internet is available first and then proceed. So in order to see whether the internet is available or not, you need permission to access the network state of your phone. So let me also ask permission for that. Let me say access network state. That's another permission which we need. Please make sure that these two permissions are there, because the first permission just gets you permission to access internet. The second one is giving you permission to access the state of your phone, whether your phone is connected to the internet or not. This we will do in the program part. Through this program, I'm also trying to explain one more small concept which requires our attention, that is a snack bar. Just like how we have put toast so far, I'm going to also put a snack bar which will come at the bottom. Bottom of your page will just pop up from the bottom and say no internet connection. If there is internet connection, you will not see this snack bar. But if you have lost net connection, or if you don't have internet and then try to open this app, I wanted to show a snack bar in my UI. You can try to create an object of snack bar. You can see that comes from com.google.android.material. So I'm going to create an object of snack bar and keep it there. So let's create it, or let's use it. Let's instantiate it as soon as onCreate starts. Snack bar is equal to snackbar.make. Okay, I need to pass three parameters here. Number one is in what view, in what layout would you like to display this? You already have the view here. I'm going to display this entire thing. The entire program is inside a recycler view. So I'm just going to pass the object of recycler view. Second thing, what do you want to display in that snack bar? So I am just going to say internet connection not available. And how long do you want me to display this? Please note, it is not like a toast which comes and goes. I want it to be there till you have got the internet connection up and running. So for that purpose, I'm going to press Control space and say length. Short, long is already there. I don't want it to just come and go. I want it to be there till the internet connection comes back. So I'm going to say indefinite. I'm going to continue with this because I don't want to write in different lines. I'm going to write dot set action, because no internet connection has come down. I want right next to that one more button called retry. So if you click on it, I would like to refresh the page and see whether it is net connection has come back or not, something like that. So I'm going to say set action. It requires two parameters. Number one, what text do you want to see there? So for that, I'm going to type retry. That's the text I want to come in that button. And once you click on that retry, what should happen? Or type new Control space and press enter. You would get that same thing what we had got for button click. So on click is got. So once you click on this button, what do you want me to do? I wanted to just reopen my app once again to check whether internet connection has come or not. That's it. Now, please note, I have just created a snack bar and kept. We have never called it. So we will not be calling it here. We'll be calling it in on start, where I check whether internet connection is available. If it is available, I'll call this line of code. And if it is not available, I'll call the snack bar. So let's do that. Before I go to that part, I need a separate method to find out whether internet is available or not. So the method which I'm about to create can be reused in multiple programs to just check whether you have internet in your phone or not. I'm going to create a method called public boolean, because it should say yes or no, whether net is there or not. Boolean is online. Nothing to pass, just call this method. If it returns true, which means internet is available. If it returns false, it is not available. As soon as I create this method, I'm going to just say return false. I'm assuming there is no internet in the beginning. Now in between, whatever I write should return true, which means if internet is available, it should return true. Otherwise it should return false. So please note, there is a new API update come up. I can't use the previous network manager utility which is available called network info. I need to write an if else condition. So before that, let me just start something which is common to both. So I'm going to call the connectivity manager object. So I'm going to call the manager is equal to get system service for connectivity service. This is the manager which I'll be using. So let's typecast it to connectivity manager. And inside this, next what we are going to create is an object of the network capabilities class. So I'm going to create an object of network capabilities which is not available, or the methods which are expected to use in network capabilities is not available in the older versions. But let me just create it so that it will automatically allow me to generate the if else condition. Is equal to call the manager and say get network capabilities of your phone. Now within brackets, I'm supposed to pass the network. Again, that also can be got from the manager. I'm going to say get active network. Done. Now you see there are two error messages. The reason is the first one says that it requires minimum lollipop, and this code requires minimum level 23, which is API level 23, which is nothing but marshmallow. So let me click on here and let's say surrounded with an if else condition. So if it is greater than or equal to marshmallow, then network capabilities. What if it is not greater than or equal to marshmallow? I'm going to write an else part and create an object of network info, which was it's shown striken out because it is deprecated. When I say deprecated, it doesn't support the latest versions. It works perfectly in the older versions. So I'm going to say network info is equal to manager.get active network info. I know it's all striked out, but it will not have an error to you because this is else part. Right. So we have got both the data which is required. Here it is very simple. You can just say return info.is connected. That's enough. In the older version, this much is more than enough to just say whether your internet is connected or not. It doesn't care whether you're connected using Wi-Fi or mobile data. It doesn't matter. As long as network is available, it will just return true. In the if condition, after you've created the object of the capabilities, you need to find whether it is active or not. If there is nothing in capabilities, which means you don't have an active network. For example, if you're in airplane mode, capabilities will be null. So let's just fix that problem. We'll just put an if condition saying if capabilities is not equal to null. What if it is equal to null? It'll just jump to the bottom and say false. I'm going to write return capabilities dot has transport. In that one, we are going to see what kind of transport, which means what kind of net connection do you have. If it is a cellular, this will return true. If it is Wi-Fi, the next one should return true. So capabilities dot has transport Wi-Fi. If none of these things return true, obviously it returns false. If I call this method called isOnline, it will return true or false. If it returns true, which means you're connected to the internet. If it returns false, you are not connected to the internet. Let's put this in use in onStart. So I have onCreate here. So I'm going to create one more method, which is the onStart. As soon as you open your activity and activity is ready to run, this will be called every time your app is restarted. So let's write it here. If isOnline. If your phone is connected to the internet, what am I supposed to do? If at all snack bar was showing, I want your snack bar to be dismissed. Please note this is written because if at all your snack bar is still, because I said snack bar is indefinite. It will be there till your internet connection has come. So the moment internet connection has come, I want this snack bar to go. Even if it is not there, it is not a problem because you have initialized it already. And then I would like you to call this line, which means execute the code only when internet connection is available. What if internet connection is not available? What am I supposed to do? Show the snack bar. Done. So let's run the program and see how the output comes. This is the output of your program. So you get a recycler view, which has individual card views for every faculty, which is there in that JSON format, which you got from the internet. Go back to my emulator and put it in airplane mode, which means no internet connection anywhere. So I just switched off airplane mode. So on start, we have written some code here. If you want, you can just have a glance of that code. The code is very simple. If it is online, then snack bar should not be there and you should go and get the internet data. But if it is not, you should show a snack bar. In the snack bar, what code I had written was internet not available. And I've also put a button called retry. So if I click on retry, it'll refresh my page again and again. But the moment internet has come back, I'll just switch on internet back again. And then once the internet connection is resumed, I'm going to click on retry again. Now the snack bar goes and the internet data is now loaded back again. So with this, this program is done. If you have any queries, please do contact me. Thank you guys.